Okay, I think we are live. Okay, so welcome to another session of Mental Health Wednesday discussions. We had a survey that was titled Healthy and Unhealthy Relationships. So thank you to the students who have completed their survey already. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to watch that video. We recommend that you watch the entire video, but if you kind of understand what's going on, you understand the gist of it. I think Miss Laura would be cool if you had to skip around to watch certain sections that really stuck out to you. I know I do that sometimes, and for this video, there's actually a list of comparing the two relationships too, which was really nice to have, and it's color coded for you and everything. So I really appreciate that, Miss Laura. But make sure to answer those questions as well,
Mhm.
so we can follow up if need be. But Miss Laura, do you want to give a short synopsis of the topic?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to start this month by laying the foundation of what the definition of a healthy and unhealthy relationship is. I think that we have unhealthy and healthy relationships with everyone we know, whether they are friends, neighbors, coworkers, family members, teachers, even. We can all have these healthy interactions that lead to a healthy relationship or unhealthy interactions that lead to an unhealthy relationship. And I wanted to like I said, lay down this foundation of what are the attributes of what makes a healthy relationship, like honesty, trust, safety, communication. And then in an unhealthy relationship, people might tend to feel bad about themselves. There's jealousy, distrust. The whole point is that if we can get better clarification of what an unhealthy relationship is, then we know ourselves whether maybe we're being unhealthy. Maybe I should tone down the anger, learn how to control my feelings, not put them on other people. So we can learn that things are unhealthy for us so that we could be better at being in relationships, but also ultimately recognizing what's unhealthy in our relationship so that I could say, stop that. I don't want that in my friendship with you. I don't want you to tell me what to do and where to go. And so, for the next couple of weeks when we're talking about unhealthy relationships, I just want to let our viewers know that there could be some feelings that come up for them, whether they're feeling triggered or upset. And it's really important to stay safe and know that if you are feeling unsafe in your relationships, that we do have resources for that as well.
Yeah, that's a huge topic. Obviously, you mentioned so many different things in just the synopsis alone. So we have an opportunity to digest all those different subtopics throughout the next month, which is awesome that we get to do that. I think first and foremost, the thing that comes off in the top of my head is family relationships in particular. And then also, with Valentine's Day coming around, like the romantic type of sentimental type of relationships that we have as well. So we have a variety of different types of relationships, whether it's like with a family, whether it's like a parent to child relationship, where in family it's also can be a sibling relationship.
Mhm.
So there's also, all these different sorts of types of relationships that we're going to discuss throughout the next month. And the first thing that came up is just like, I think for me, growing up, I'm the oldest of three kids, and I have a younger brother, and then the youngest is a sister. So, and we're all 2 years apart. So I think understanding who we are is a pretty big thing. So self, and then the
Mhm.
second thing is to understand the setting. So where are we exactly in terms of actual location? And then also in the sense, like, where are we? What's the context of what's been going in our lives together too?
Yeah.
And so for me, I think, I wish I had understood better. My relationship with my younger brother hasn't honestly been the best, and it's kind of deteriorated over the last few years, especially. So I think being honest about that is a pretty big deal. But like, I think for me, the biggest point that I wanted to get to is because it's my family.
Mhm.
I think I let myself go and be more loose and not filtered with them compared
Mm.
to when I'm with my friends.
Mhm.
And I think that's why I bring up those two topics. You have to understand yourself and then the settings that you're
Mhm.
in. So I
Mhm.
think it's pretty important in terms of trying to have healthy relationships. And it doesn't always have to be unhealthy. You can work towards healthy relationships and also maintain healthy relationships too.
Yeah. You bring up a very good point that first of all, it's very difficult actually acknowledging that you're in an unhealthy relationship. It could be really heartbreaking realizing, oh my gosh, am I in an unhealthy relationship? Do me and my brother not have a good relationship? I thought everybody fights like this. Or in a romantic relationship, it's like, oh no, like I love this person, they couldn't possibly be treating me bad. Or I'm thinking, even conversely, it's like, oh, I just love them so much, I care about them so much, this is why I want their location and to know who they're hanging out with, and and what they're doing and when they'll be home. I think that it's really important to understand ourselves and what's happening in our relationships, but it is really difficult to acknowledge that you are possibly receiving or engaging in unhealthy behavior. So that's what this month is all about, is trying to understand what can be considered as healthy and unhealthy so that we can correct them and also demand respect, expect respect for ourselves.
And I think, again, I mentioned it earlier, but one of those slides that you have in the video actually compares healthy relationships to unhealthy relationships
Mhm,
separately, and then also a list of different things in comparison.
mhm,
Um, it brought me, thoughts of like my friends that I have growing up in high school, especially. You brought up romantic relationships, and sometimes I would think like, you guys think you're in such a healthy relationship, and I don't know what's going on with you guys. You think everything's cool, you get along, you like each other, but at the same time, like, how is this proving to be healthy? And it's like, used to drive me crazy how they used to think their relationship was healthy, but they were actually like just like killing each other, literally, like
right.
arguments, mostly about very trivial things that weren't that important or substantial.
Mhm,
And then what's made it worse is that the friends outside of the relationship were also affected by it. So
mhm,
it's like you said, it's really hard to acknowledge when a relationship, in certain cases where you might even think it's healthy, is actually unhealthy, and have to tackle that. But I think it's very good to be able to have that compare and contrast type of list and think about those things to reflect on.
mhm. Um, so yes, you can be in love and it could be unhealthy. You could really miss somebody so much and it could be unhealthy. You can really look up to this person and still have an unhealthy relationship. I think that that's a common misbelief. Some people think, wow, why aren't you more unhappy? And you're like, I can still love this person. And actually, that's probably what's really difficult about trying to fix the unhealthy parts of a relationship. And you mentioned before, you can work towards healthy. This is true. If two people who are experiencing an unhealthy relationship, or one person in an unhealthy relationship is experiencing a lot of that unhealthy behavior onto them, you can fix it. It's very true. But you need two people to be really dedicated and understanding of what's going wrong. And this is why a lot of people go to therapy, is because they want to understand what they're doing and what they're receiving so that they can try to change. If you have two people participating in an unhealthy relationship together who are unwilling to see what parts of their relationship are unhealthy, it might not change. For example, one of these is you feel pressured to spend time together and feel guilty when you're apart. That one's really tough. It's like people might think, oh no, it's super healthy that we want to spend all of our time together because we love each other so much. Yes, you love each other so much. And it's actually really healthy to still have friends outside the relationship, really healthy to still maintain other relationships. So, yeah, that was a lot, but all that being said, we need sometimes that outside perspective that you're saying, because we could be so into it. We could be so in love and it could be unhealthy. And sometimes your friends or family members are the one to see that these behaviors aren't okay.
Yeah, so you bring up accountability as well, but I think, if we go into the baseline type of deal, like, how do you define a relationship in the first place? I know we've had a lot of discussions about that in relation to it, but like, what are you looking for in a relationship? Like, because for me personally, if I follow a celebrity and I look up to them, I don't really have a relationship with
Yeah.
them, but
Yeah.
I idolize certain qualities that I want. I'm able to interact in some way, like whether it's like social media or, maybe drawing or coloring art
Yeah.
based on them. So I feel like I can connect with them, and that's some sort of a relationship, but it's not actually what I would deem a real relationship where we are able to actually dialogue and discuss
Mhm.
stuff and like really construct concepts together or talk about concepts together and go further there from there. Compared to like like a discussion like we have here between two human beings, face to face, and we can actually kind of unravel, unpack things and actually go from there and do more. So there's a lot of things that come into like establishing what a relationship is, what we
Yeah.
want out of it.
Yeah. I think, what's coming up for me is when people say to define the relationship. Have you ever heard that? As people are
Yeah.
like, no, you can't just be friends. You have to choose to be friends or in a relationship. And so that actually does have some merit to it. Define the relationship. For example, it is very obvious that my relationship to my mom is a parent and child, right? So that's the relationship that we have. And that relationship comes with honesty, trust, safety, all of these things. And so when it comes down to it, you do want to say, this person is a stranger, an acquaintance, a friend. And then based on what those roles are, you can figure out what kind of relationship you're going to have. So you and I are friends. We can talk to each other and hold information. We could go to each other for support and things like that. If maybe we were just coworkers, well, then we only work together and then we have our separate lives. So we need to figure out what kind of relationship you have with people and being honest about it. And it's okay. So in our coworker relationship, is it okay that we disrespect each other and yell at each other? No, and that wouldn't be okay in really any relationship. So we can even have an unhealthy relationship as coworkers. We can have unhealthy relationships as friends. So any kind of definable relationship, figure out what that definition is, how you relate to each other, and then you can start to figure out what a healthy and unhealthy relationship looks like in that context.
Yeah, what you said makes me think of like the type of values we have. They don't
Mhm.
have to all be shared. Some of them can be, but I think a lot of the times our close relationships, some of those values, those principles, those morals that we all carry, if
Mhm.
there's someone or people groups that we that resonate with us in the same value, we tend to have a stronger relationship because we see that as a priority in our lives. And then also boundaries, like how do we navigate through all those types of things with or without boundaries? Some friends I can have no boundaries and we can just talk about whatever. We're not going to offend each other. We know that we're just having open conversation about it and it goes from there. Other friends like, you know what, I don't feel comfortable about talking about this anymore. Can we like just gloss it over or just move on to the next topic because I want to have quality time with you. So yeah, those boundaries, yeah, it's hard to find out, but those are things that we also have to always consider. And I want to make sure people understand healthy relationships are not unbreakable, unfortunately. Okay, you
Mhm.
have to take the time and the effort to maintain
Yeah.
those healthy relationships. It's just not like this where it's magic genie and then it just stays away. And it's awesome that you have healthy relationships. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to discredit that all. But also we have the element of time too. Sometimes time can change those healthy relationships for different reasons as well too. So like
Mhm.
for example, my college friends, we are all a lot younger in college. We enjoyed a different mindset where we had younger bodies and souls. We're more willing to kind of adventure out, do random things, and have the energy. But now, like we talk about more serious matters like getting married, having kids, like our futures, our jobs, um, philosophical topics too. And but even though we can't really do as much, we used to go to soccer tournaments all the time. We don't really have the time and energy to do that anymore. But it's evolved over time, and we've put in the time and effort to make sure it's healthy, and we're contributing to each other's well-being, not just one side of where I get something from them, but
Yeah.
also getting something from me too.
Yeah, you mentioned that healthy relationships are mutual, as in it's a give and take. You participate in it because you also want to give, not just take from it, and that they take work. So just because I compliment you once doesn't mean that now we're in a healthy relationship. You know, you had to continue to have these kind of compliments, encourage, and praise. And in the same way that one criticism isn't going to make your relationship unhealthy, it's the continuance of these kind of dynamics. And so you really want to have understanding of the ratios of like positive interactions and negative interactions, because if you are more often than not unhappy, guilty, blamed, disrespected, you might be in an unhealthy relationship, really, if you are over most of the time feeling that way. um, and there are things that you can do, and we're going to talk about them later per specific relationship, like when you're feeling bullied and you're getting all these negative interactions, what can you do? If you are a child in and your parents are, you know, like participating in these negative dynamics that continue to hurt you, there are things that you can do. And so we really should be aware of the difference between what's healthy and unhealthy, so that you can stand up for yourself, you can ask for help from other trusted people that you have. You can expect respect in other relationships that you have in your life, um, so that you can continue to maintain that healthy relationships with maybe other people, or fix the ones that you have, like you mentioned.
And it's exactly what my thoughts led to as well. On the flip side, unhealthy relationships are not permanent either. They don't have to be permanent. So in the same way, it's not exactly the same thing, but the time and the effort spent in reconstructing or rebuilding um, those unhealthy relationships to healthy relationships is definitely possible. You just got to put work into it and make sure you understand each other. I mean, all of us are uniquely designed and built. Obviously, some people are more social, some people are more antisocial, some people, there's a lot of difference in uniqueness to each and every one of us. So I think a level of understanding and um, I think just what's the word? It starts with a C. I think trying to think
Compromise.
of the right word. I'm sorry.
Compromise.
Not compromise, but more. It's
Collaborate.
just a sense of understanding for each other. It's yeah. You gotta have that mindset of like just unraveling who you're talking to, where you're talking to, what types of things are you talking to about. I mean,
Mhm.
and also for yourself, whether it's like just one other person or a group of people, it's better to put the time and effort in that way where you're trying to build a healthy relationship. And sometimes I think we have to face the reality. Sometimes it doesn't work out and we have to compromise, like you talked about, or just walk away because
Yeah.
it's better for us. And that's really hard. And if I had to let friends go, some friends we stay in contact. We're not as close anymore. Some friends they're not friends anymore. And those are all difficult things, but that's the reality of life as a whole. In some way, we're gonna have to face it. But I think you got to put in your best for sure.
Hmm. And you have to make sure that the other person in your relationship is putting in their best too. It really is equal. It's an equal amount of effort that needs to be had and maintained to make it a healthy relationship. I bring up the word toxic in the in the presentation and in my video, because these trendy words will just it'll just introduce a whole new level of understanding for our teens. Maybe unhealthy relationship isn't like a buzzword, but toxic is. And people know exactly what toxic means. Actually, a number of our students were like a large number of our students were able to define what toxic meant. And if I could read some of them, they said, toxic is when someone is being all of the bad things in a relationship. Someone said toxic means people are overprotective, but in a bad way, right? So toxic means not healthy. Toxic means all the negative stuff. Toxic means when two people fight all the time. Our students get it. They get what toxic means. And I think this is a wonderful way to build awareness that toxic means that it's bad for you. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't make you feel good, makes you feel maybe even a little bit of poison in your thoughts, in your feelings. And maybe those kind of relationships aren't worth having. Yes, you can fix them if somebody is partial, if they want to partner with you to fix a toxic relationship. But part of being a toxic relationship means that someone's just going to blame you, that all of these, you're the reason it's unhealthy. When you're like, what? I thought it was maybe you or both of us. So, toxic really is something that you need to be aware of. And your family and your friends might see the toxicity in your relationship before you do. So, please be open to the reflections that trusted people in your life are giving to you, because you might not even understand you're in an unhealthy relationship until you're deep into it with your feelings and everyone around you can see the dynamics are toxic.
And I'm gonna give what I would say is a toxic type of deal with
Mhm.
another trendy phrase I would say these days, but cancel culture is a very
Yeah.
toxic thing in today's society, whether it be in American society or the global society as a
Mhm.
whole. But one thing we don't want you to do is just be trigger happy and like, you know what, they're done. I'm
That's
gone. I'm not gonna give them a chance whatsoever. They wronged me once, you know, it's it. But
yeah.
in some cases, yeah, it makes sense. And it's a situation by situation type of deal. And it's
Mhm.
all dependent on you and how you feel. We can't obviously control that, but we would advise you don't always immediately just dismiss it right then and there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you gotta understand human error, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
There's no perfect person. We all make mistakes. And in some cases, again, based on the scenario, maybe they should have a second chance,
Mhm.
and you should actually hear out what actually happened, why they said or did what they did, okay,
Mhm.
or said what they said. It's better to try to find out all the details and give each other a chance rather than just like not knowing anything and just doing like making a decision on impulse.
Yeah. Yes, I can say that this is where boundaries come in, right? So it's for us, like my boundaries are if a friend pushed me, that is a that is like a no, don't lay your hands on me kind of thing. I'm not going to lay my hands back on you, but because you disrespected me in that way, treated me in that way, I can no longer maintain our friendship if you, try to hurt me physically. And that is my boundary. That means I'm done. Cancel culture is interesting where it's like if someone maybe was dishonest and they're like, "Oh, sorry, I can't hang out tonight. I've got something with my parents." And then they're actually hanging out with a different friend, canceled. I'm like, "Can we get to the bottom of that before we cancel someone?" Like maybe they were afraid to let you know because of how you'd react. So their boundaries is going to be something we talk about, especially in intimate relationships
Mhm.
with romantic partners, because we need to know what our boundaries are in order to help us stay safe. Like I said, that was an extreme kind of um, example of an unhealthy relationship is like physical harm. And so we want to make sure that we know that that is unhealthy. If someone straight out the gate told me, oh, well, maybe I deserved that they physically harmed me, then we have bigger problems going on that really need, like I said, this extra help. Get extra help from people you trust and who don't hurt you in those ways. Talk to your teachers, talk to your healthy friends, talk to an adult that is, non-biased and going to be helpful for you, because those can creep in on you. Unhealthy relationships. We want everybody to participate in healthy, deserving, wonderful, happy relationships.
And that's right. That's a great way to close out the discussion as well. Again, we got to understand like everything in terms of severity, like all the situations and relationships, it's measured so many different ways of how bad it is. And it's, obviously that's a big factor to the decisions we make too. But I think one thing we want to close on is that you could be afraid to talk openly about it or discuss it or bring it up. We're not asking you to like tell somebody because, and you're afraid because like, if I like, for example, if my brother and I have a bad relationship and I talk to somebody about it, does that mean it's going to go in a permanent record and he's going to be reported to the cops or police? It's not like that. We're all obviously providing resources to help foster healthy relationships. It's not a situation only in the severe cases where reports have to be made, but in many cases it's just support systems and resources and tools available to you so you guys can navigate and establish and maintain those healthy relationships. So I know students can be afraid where it's like, maybe it's like something they want to talk about with their parents or their siblings or their friends, or like Ms. Lara was talking about before, where it's like romantic relationships. Again, we're not putting you on the spot. We're not putting it out in public. We're not, putting it in the hands of law enforcement per se. So those things, yeah, we're here to help. And again, we want to provide you support, if not through us, through other resources as well. So please feel free to reach out to Ms. Lara, our wonderful counselor, and then to your teachers and staff as well, if you want to reach out in that way as well. Did I miss any other resources by any chance, Ms. Lara?
No, that, and people can always check out the mental health website off of our Blanca online school website. There's a little tab there that says mental health with Ms. Lar, and there are a ton of resources and ways to contact me.
So students, yeah, check it out. Please make sure, if you haven't done so yet, fill out that survey and let's have those healthy relationships. Thank you, Ms. Lar. We'll see everybody again next week.
All right, take care. See you, Mr. S. Bye.